Okay, so I'm just get this over. It's gonna be informal. Test one, two, two, one, two. Okay, it's gonna be informal, and it's one of the my bones of contention with the rest of the unorganized bodies of so-called Hebrews. I'm not your enemy, but God, sometimes I want to be. The level of the level of academia is abysmal in the Hebrew faith. It's populated by people that are so lazy. They don't want to do the research themselves, but they are so loyal to whatever they're spoon fed. And they will, at the risk of life and limb, defend these false teachings and false doctrines because whoever they came from was somebody so charismatic and emotional, you know, that, oh, that got to be true. Ain't no way in the world he could be up there talking all this nonsense and all aggressively if it was a falsehood. And I think they judge falsehood based off of the person who taught them the stuff. And that's the most dangerous because, even a fool can speak foolishness with confidence, especially if he's trying to win your heart over to his belief system. All right, so let me just keep this easy. The day is a Shabbat, right? And me and my kids were reading. We were reading through Proverbs 31, and it struck me that this Proverbs, especially from verse 15 to 18, deals with this day starting at the night or day starting in evening time in a subtle kind of way. None of the Bible agrees with the day starting in the evening. I know you guys are probably going to go to that verse in Leviticus where it says your Sabbath will be from evening to evening. That's one Sabbath. That's that one Sabbath. If you keep it in context, it's talking about a specific day. And I think that day is a Feast of Tabernacles, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that because I'm going by memory. I didn't look it up to refresh my memory prior to this video. But I know it's talking about one particular holy day, not all your Sabbaths. It's from evening to evening. And you know why it was starting evening? Because you need the day to take time to prepare to cook. Okay? And there's a whole process that's got to be involved for the whole nation to get their animals slaughtered by a priest. Then take that thing home, prepared, or to have it prepared and cooked. It's just, we do not think when we read this book. We just read the book and take our eyes away from the page and then just go start spewing this stuff. We don't. That's why I came up with the form of Bible study that I came up with. That I spent 3 videos trying to help you understand the systematic way or the methodical way to approach that form of Bible study so that you could read it like you are trying to get real information out of it, not like you're just reading some fictional novel and just going to start spewing what you say is facts because it comes out this book and then you say these are facts. And they're not. They're not facts. They have to be adjusted. They're not adjusted, but they have to be sometimes negotiated, sometimes compromised with reality. You got to understand the genre of the Bible and the genre of what you're reading. If you're reading a poem, don't come up in my face taking that poem literally and saying this is true because what the poem said. So do you know how poets write? They don't write based on facts. They write based on metaphor, simile. They write on all kind of other abstract concepts. And some of us are taking this stuff. Okay, let me get back to the point because I want to make this short. Okay, I'm getting too far going off the deep end. All right, so anyway. All right. Let's go to Proverbs 31 and 15. Gotta slow myself down, man. I'm blood pressure getting up, and I gotta calm down. If you can see it, here it is. If you know the song, read along. She also gets up while it is still night and provides food for her household and a portion to her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. From her own income, she plants a vineyard. She begins her work vigorously, and she strengthens her arms. She knows that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out in the night. Okay. The day does not start in the evening. Do you know where that comes from? Nowhere else in the Bible supports the days starting in the evening. Nowhere. But because people misread this, I'll tell you where it comes from. Genesis chapter 1. Hey, by the way, while I'm waiting until I get there, this is net.bible.org, a resource I mentioned in one of my videos on Bible study. This is one of the most accurate Bibles to date, okay? And I told you there are over 6,000 notes in this Bible. And if you look at this, you can see all these numbers. Every last one of these numbers is appended to a note, okay? And there's a note that goes with it. So you spend more time reading notes than you will the actual Bible, because it's notes for every. Matter of fact, the notes are on this side, right over here. I don't know if you can see it, but one side is devoted to the notes, one side is devoted to the actual pages of the Bible. I'm trying to look and see what these notes. Some of these things can get very detailed. Let me just read the note for Genesis. Now let me read this note right here. So it says God called. Okay, so God called 7 times in this chapter. Naming or blessing follows some act of creation. There is clearly a point being made beyond the obvious idea of naming. In the Babylonian creation story, Enuma Elish, naming is equal to creating. In the Bible, the act of naming, like creating, can be an indication of sovereignty. In this case, God is sovereign, even over the darkness. All right, so they get more detailed than that. Sometimes they go into the Hebrew, like right here in this next 2 notes down, going into the Hebrew of the Yom. So anyway, it's very detailed and it's very enlightening. It's very unbiased as well, and that's what I think we need, because a lot of our information is highly biased, and we learn and stretch and grow the most when the information is unbiased, even when it's critical. I know everybody's so protective over their Bible, and they get all in their feelings when you say something that doesn't line up with what they thought it said. But what you got to do is you got to be open-minded enough to say, hey, I want to know the truth here. And not just some stuff to be told to believe and be spoon-fed. What's more important is what it really says. What's more important is really the situation surrounding the incidents. And not only that, but the comparable incidents that occurred in history along the same time, or the exact same occurrence that's described by another country, another tribe, another people. Because the Bible is not in a vacuum. It didn't just happen in Israel and nobody else knew about it. Other nations were involved, and they recorded this stuff as well. Matter of fact, one of the greatest evidences of David is recorded by another nation, not even by the Bible. And you need that to provide evidence, because extra-biblical source is what validates the evidence. I can't stand to hear somebody tell me, where does that say that in the Bible? Who cares where that says that in the Bible? Life happens outside of the Bible. You can't just look for every situation in life and say, if it's in the Bible, it's true. If it ain't in the Bible, it's not true. 2 + 2 = 4. You won't find that in the Bible. I'm sure Jesus brushed his teeth, but you will never find that in the Bible. I know Jesus had to take a bath, but you will never find that in the Bible. You won't find Jesus' shoe size. I know he had a shoe size. You won't find where he ever used the toilet. I'm sure he did use the toilet. So to say that if it's not in the Bible, it's not true, is the most utterly... Okay, I'm sorry. Let me calm down. Woo, sorry. Okay, so back here in verse 3. Let's read this one, because this is where it comes from. This is where the evening starts and the day stuff comes from. Way back here, God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good. So God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. There was evening and there was morning, marking the first day. Okay? So that is where it comes from. Verse 5, where it says, there was evening and there was morning, the first day. So everybody misreads that and think that evening starts the day, and I guess, but if you pay attention, in this verse 5, it lists all four phases of the day. But what it does, it doesn't list them in order. It says day, that's one phase of the day. Night, that's the second phase. Evening, that's the third phase. We're out of order because evening actually precedes night. But because evening, or day and night comes first, because it's dealing with the previous context of light and darkness, and helping us identify that God named light day, and he named darkness night, and other two phases, evening and morning. So 4 phases to a day, but they're not in order. Because if you believe that evening starts the day, then you must think that morning ends it, when the opposite is true. You know, evening and morning are only mentioned in the second part of this verse, and you would think that's the first day. But it's not, because evening to morning ain't that long of a period of time to complete all the phases of the day. There are only 2 phases of the day. So I don't understand for the life of me, why don't people employ intelligence? I don't understand it. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Let's read this, because I think this is important, because I don't think people know how to approach this book. I don't think they know how. I think they're so used to Christian approach to the book, where Christianity defies logic. It bases things more on superstition, more on some esoterical pseudo spirituality. That's what people think they're supposed to approach it. No, you're supposed to approach this with every mental faculty available to your disposal. You are supposed to make sense of this. I guess people have this idea, you can't understand God. God is beyond understanding. And I think they have this idea that Paul basically said that knowledge is foolish and that science is of man, and that's of man. So we're not supposed to use that approach to the book. Yes, you are. I mean, forget what Paul says to his Gentile constituents. Let's think about what Solomon said. All right? And Paul is counteracting Hellenistic wisdom. All right? Not the wisdom that one should apply to the scripture. Okay? Because we have 2 tomes by Solomon that would squash every last thing we think about Paul's theory of stupidity versus science, or belief in faith in God versus science, as we exegete that to mean. That just Solomon demolishes what you think Paul is saying and what Paul is not really saying. So anyway, this other note right here, I like this. I want to show you guys some of the features of the Net Bible, online Net Bible, because I told you before, if you buy this Bible with the notes, it's going to cost you a grip, about $200 to $1,000. So you get it for free right here, net.bible.org, and you can see these beautiful notes over here, man. It just expounds your knowledge times 1,000. The first day. Okay, we deal with the first day right here. You see this? First day. Okay, first day right here, 22. You see the notes for 22? Let me go there. They're right here. They were right on the same page. I'll just click this so it can come up to the top. No, that's not it. Take it. Yeah, okay. No, let's go here. Let's go here. 15 notes. 15 notes. Okay, let there be. Let there be light, right? Let there be is short, jussive, or justive form of the verb. I'm sorry, I just came back. You know, we just finished with the Shabbat, and so I came back from doing Hebrew lessons, and where you get used to the use being actually used in another language, not us, which is actually an A sound. Anyway, form of the verb to be, the following expression, and there was is a short preterite form of the same verb. Okay? As such, yehi. Yehi, right? Okay, I don't know if you're going to see this, but yehi, that's why I just read the Hebrew. Yehi. And wayehi. Yehi and wayehi sound exact same, but one just has the, what is that? And is a conjunction, right? Okay, cool. Wayahi is, wa in the beginning means and. Okay, so it's a conjunction. And. Form a profound wordplay to express both the calling into existence and the complete fulfillment of the divine word. So, I mean, this is to give you a more exposure to what you're in for and how it instructs and corrects many of the mistakes that was made. That's the purpose of the notes. Either the correct translational mistakes or to give you more insight into the historical, geographical, anthropological insights into what's before your eyes. And it's a good tool to use. I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in this video. I could care less. I just felt like venting, because okay, but let me go back to where in Proverbs. Let me go back to Proverbs. After we know this, okay, so we learned some laws from Genesis 1:5. Some laws, okay? Law 1, light is called day. Light's called day, okay? Law 2, darkness is night, okay? There was evening and there was morning, marking the first day. So do you pay attention? It's not saying a day. What this part 2 of this verse is saying is not saying a day starts. I mean, it's not saying the evening starts a day, but it is saying that morning marks the end of a day. So morning is marking the end of your day. That's what it's saying. I know you guys are going to claw and scratch to uphold that lie you've been taught. I know you're going to. I know this is not the only place I found this. I got another place in Exodus where it is nighttime, and Pharaoh's saying, "Tomorrow, I want you to ask God to get rid of these whatever tomorrow," right? And so the next morning, Moses went out and blah blah blah, right? It doesn't fit the concept of what you're trying. Basically, this stuff comes from Jews, all right? And a lot of you are being bottle fed by the same people that you claim to hate. So you take their concepts because you haven't studied the book for yourself. You take their concepts and adopt them and then think, oh, we originally came up with this. No, we didn't. They came up with that nonsense. They're the ones that came up with Judaism. That's not the original faith of this book. I want you guys to understand that. And I mean, I can follow the etymology of that to help explain that. I ain't got that kind of time. I got to get a nap before work. So, yeah, I'm just trying to shed some light. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to have been asleep an hour ago. So back to Proverbs chapter 31. And I don't know if anybody's watching this video because I'm actually looking at my web browser right now. And what you're seeing is me looking at my web browser. I can't see the screen. So if you're asking me questions or whatever, I can't see it. And besides, there's a delay, so I can't really see it. So anyway, let's go back to 31:15. She gets up while it is still night and provides food for her household and a portion to her female servants. Now, this scripture doesn't say. It doesn't say exactly what time it is. It says it's still night. What is night? Darkness. That's how we understand. There are 3 laws. There are 3 laws in Genesis 1:5. Okay? One of the laws is that night is dark. Darkness is night. Okay? So how would you explain this scripture? She gets up while it's still night and provides food for her household and a portion to her female servants. How would you explain it? She's getting up in the middle of the night and gets up. Does get up, let's see, 36. Does get up imply waking up? This talks more about the meat that's being provided and her providing it for her family. Okay? But it's not really addressing the issue. Does to get up mean to wake up? Or to get up means that she was sitting down watching TV. Then she just decided to stand up and go do this. I think there are clues in here that give us idea of what time of day this is, even though night is mentioned. She gets up while it is still night and provides food for her household and a portion to her female servants. Look at your life. Look at your life. When do you get up at night, darkness, to eat or provide food for your family or have your family, the food for your family provided? When do you get up? This, okay, I'm gonna tackle this. Let me take a stab at this right quick. I believe it's so early in the morning that it's still dark. So early in the morning that it's still dark because she wakes up that early. She gets starting on her day that early. Okay. So I don't see how this can conform with the idea that the evening starts the day, when clearly just before it's at evening and morning, it just said light is day and darkness is night. So how can night and day start at the same daggone time? What sense does that make? Night and day start at the same time. You know, that's asking me to be an idiot. And that's asking you to be an idiot. And if you complied with that, you willingly became an idiot yourself. That does not make any logical sense whatsoever. Okay, next. Her hands. Oh, wait a minute. She wakes up while it's still night, okay? And then she knows that her merchandise is good and her lamp does not go out at night. Right? This is a woman whose lamp does not go out at night. This is a woman who's working the midnight oil, who stays up late to make sure that her merchandise is good, because she's been up all night doing this stuff, and then has the audacity to wake up while it's still night, or to get up while it's still night, and make breakfast for her family. I mean, there's another way I could take this, too. I mean, if her lamp does not go out at night, maybe she's sitting down working at night, and then, I'm done. Then stands up at night and makes food, provides food for her household, and a portion to her female servants. Food that, if it's at night, won't be eaten until the morning or whenever part of the day, and then I don't know how they refrigerated food, but stands a chance on not being cold. I mean, not being hot, but cold and stale and bacteria-ridden. All kind of stuff. I mean, we could really go deep as we want to into this, but I ain't. Because it's pretty obvious to me. And nowhere else in the scripture have I ever seen a day starting in the evening, or have they marked their days from the evening ever. Now, if you know one, find one for me, please. Now, I know that no, not even I don't even think the Talmud. But if it is the Talmud, that's where that legend began, because the Jews believe that their day starts in the evening. And one must wonder why.